Hi, welcome to the Film Prospector, a channel which extracts as much gold as possible from a lonely DVD before throwing it back on the cold shelf and moving on to the next. 1987's Black Widow is a slick thriller from director Bob Rafelson. It's about a female federal investigator tracking down a woman who moves from husband to husband, killing them for their inheritance. The film looks good, all the performances are great, it's got some interesting pacing, it has a third act which wraps up the story satisfactorily, but it's also quite infuriating. I found 7.5 out of 10 grams of gold in Black Widow.
I'll tell you two things about me. I'm very rich. And I'm very wealthy.
I think I love it, but I'm not sure it loves me back, and I'm not entirely sure where that leaves me. Stick with me and I'll try and explain. Theresa Russell plays Catherine, and Marielle, and Margaret, and Renee. A chameleon whose only colour is green, with envy and disgust at her carefully targeted rich husbands, and the inheritance she extracts from each after poisoning them in their sleep, without a trace of course before she moves on. Debra Winger is Alex, Alexandra Barnes. A plain, brilliant Justice Department agent who's adamant that there's a pattern in these rich businessmen who keep dying, even though none of the men in her office seem to see it.
Make some calls to New York, Dallas, newspapers, whatever. Let's round up some photos.
Shouldn't be hard. They were prominent guys.
Not the men. The wives.
Her desire to prove herself more than just a number cruncher within this queasily tinted patriarchy leads her to follow the case.
Even if you're right, it isn't federal. So whatever you can't fit in on the weekends, make sure you call in sick, okay?
In a brilliant move which would not be allowed today, the opening act has Theresa Russell don a variety of guises, woo, marry and then kill several different men. This includes Dennis Hopper as an unlikely toy salesman.
Yeah, they forgot that they're making this toy for kids. Instructions are too complicated. Hot damn!
The speed at which the film moves on from each reflects her callousness while adding in a bit of dark humour in the edits.
Right again, hon.
We don't need to see the whole process for everyone. Just know that she's adaptable, cunning and is quite prepared to do her research.
Northwest Indians. Which tribes?
Coast Salish for certain. Whatever else you have. Tlingit, Balakula, Kwaikuto. My primary interest is in totem poles.
What are you, cramming for a game show?
Alex is equally capable. In mirroring scenes we see that she's also taking this investigation seriously, narrowing down suspects, doing her own research, thinking about what might be needed.
So what, you gonna knock over a liquor store or something?
I was just at the target range. I'm trying to get certified, that's all.
The film does a great job of drawing the two women together before they ever share a scene. Alex moves from hunting after the kill to trying to predict the next one. She trails her number one suspect briefly. She questions her suspected future victim to find out more about the potential killer.
My wife's a very private person, and I respect that. But let me talk to her, and we'll see if we can't help you out.
She's called Margaret in this instance, a museum director who's married a coin expert, hence all the earlier library trips. But afraid of how to approach the subject of his wife maybe trying to kill her, Alex is too late.
You're my wife. I want you with me.
I do like the way you say that.
Where'd they find him?
Look, Agatha Christie, he didn't die of any weird breathing disease, just a good old-fashioned American heart attack. Boom, like everybody else.
Margaret found out that someone's been snooping around asking questions about her, and Alex watches on as her mask slips. Margaret is off and vanishes once more, abandoning yet another identity. Alex is now hooked on finding her again. She realises she can't be restricted by the office anymore, and are quietly constraining men within it.
Alex, you don't quit your job. 6 years. To go chasing after some phantom.
She's not a fan.
This includes Terry O'Quinn as her boss, who she politely rebuffs several times. For the period, these advances were meant to be seen as subtle. The workplace here is a cage, a closet if you will. Repression rather than oppression. Alex says goodbye and breaks free. Believing that the next target is now in Hawaii, Alex adopts a new name, Jessica Bates, and a new outlook in the sunshine. She soon meets Renee, as Theresa Russell is now called, and gains her trust.
Randy Walker.
Jessica Bates.
Jessica Bates, I owe you a beer.
Take you up on it.
Renee's new rich target is Paul, played by French actor Sammy Frey.
We are standing at the newest place on this planet. It's like nowhere on Earth. I love this place.
He's planning to build a hotel on a volcano. A good place for a new beginning, for everyone. For boring later plot reasons, there's also some snooping around by James Hong as a private detective.
I'm surprised you can find your office in the morning.
You're always sarcastic like that? You a sarcastic little baby?
But here in Hawaii, Justin's friendship with Renee starts to get a little too deep. As everyone's feelings get a little confused, whose dangerous desires will prove too deadly? I really like the script in this one. It also frequently looks great, even on DVD. Vivid colours are almost in every scene. There's green backgrounds everywhere. It's fake and sickly in Alex's office, but bright and natural for Margaret. Grey and black, neutral dowdiness for Alex's clothes while working for the government. The same for Catherine, Marielle and Margaret's mourning, but when Theresa Russell is scheming, it's always red. Alex breaks out into colour a couple of times, aggressively standing out from the rest of the office when she's holding her own at the poker table, and then blue when she's desperate to get permission to get on this case.
I could be right.
Look, the whole MO, a complex series of seductions and murders, that's not something you see a woman do.
Oh, really? Which part you figure a woman isn't up to, the seduction or the murder? Look, I just want the field assignment. Please?
A little bit of foreshadowing that, as once we get to Hawaii, the whole colour palette changes. Both Renee and Jessica dress almost exclusively in blues and reds. Both women on the hunt, both scheming, but both feeling freer than they previously were, now amongst the blue skies and ocean. I'm not usually one to look too deeply into this sort of stuff, but here with the colours being so vivid and used so clearly, I do find it quite fascinating.
How interesting.
As I said, I do recommend giving this a watch if you're in the market for a late 80s thriller. So stop now if you don't want the ending spoiled by the rest of this video, or if you don't fancy some more deep dives into film theory.
Truth is, I'm sorry it's over.
The truth is, it's not over yet.
It's that Hawaii ending which intrigues me, and I'm not sure if it deserves to. On face value, Renee gifts sleeping with Paul to Alex/Jessica.
Paul, you like him. Go for it. I want you to.
Then sleeps with him herself before quickly marrying him.
Woman in love.
Do you really doubt it?
I helped you get here, didn't I? When you put us together, it made him want you all the more.
Then, of course, she poisons him and frames Jessica for the murder. Before a final twist reveals Paul's still to be alive and Renee is now the one facing prison. This ending sort of works, but it doesn't deal with the subtext which is almost bursting onto the screen of the relationship between the two women. Alex's obsession with Catherine, Marielle, Margaret, Renee is clearly more than just one of detective and criminal, hunter versus prey.
What are you looking at?
I'm sorry. No, it's just that we spent most of the day in the pool, and you come out looking like that, and I look like this, and I just wondered why that is.
You don't look bad.
She's drawn to her as a means to prove herself at work, but also as a person, as a proving ground for her own identity. I'll get into some queer theory in a minute, but even without having to consult with textbooks, there's clearly plenty going on in the foreground without having to dig any deeper. In Hawaii, the slightly androgynous Alex changes her name to something more gendered, Jessica Bates. And it's fitting that only in Hawaii does the obviously female Catherine Marielle Margaret decide to become the slightly less sure Renee. Renee helps her with a few new outfits to fit in, which of course brings these two even closer. She ultimately even uses the same hairstylist as Renee.
How about your hairdresser?
Sure.
Pretty woman meets single white female meets Silence of the Lambs here, with a mix of class, identity and sexual politics. The full name Alex chooses for herself here, Jessica Bates. Her subconscious desire is to be bait for Renee's next kill. She wants to be the one in a relationship with her, to put herself in harm's way to reveal everyone's truth. When taking scuba lessons and practicing resuscitation techniques, Alex asks,
You're not taking this personally, are you?
Don't worry.
Okay.
Note that reply wasn't a no. Renee's aware of what's going on here, even if she's not yet aware of how many layers of deception both women are under. In a surprising, frustrating move to all this obvious subtext, Jessica sleeps with Paul. But maybe Jessica can do that as she's the fiction here. And maybe it's Alex trying to rattle Renee and make her jealous. But let's have a quick look at the scenes before and after that happens. Paul suggests it to Jessica in a nice romantic forest charred by volcanic activity.
Decide.
She starts to walk away and she has to be held back until she reluctantly agrees. Whatever the motivation for this, there's clearly plenty of doubt here as well. And then afterwards, Alex is wearing a quite muted green-blue robe for the first time in Hawaii. They use the looking at herself through the metaphorical tears in the mirror shot. Is she happy she slept with Paul, or sad that she's allowed herself to slip back to that? She's not sure. At Renee and Paul's marriage, a clearly uncomfortable Alex confronts Renee. It's not Paul that she's jealous about. She gifts Renee a Black Widow brooch, blowing her own cover as a detective by showing that she knows Renee's deepest secret.
Black Widow. She mates and she kills. Your question is, does she love?
In a considered response, Renee kisses her, though not with emotion but spite. Renee shows that even with her cover blown, she's still in charge, and she also knows Alex's deepest secret. Which leads us back to that ending. A straight read would be that ultimately the threat to heteronormative relations, the literal husband killer is behind bars. Confused Alex is now happy hetero Jessica in Hawaii. Out in the sun, she's now free to forget those troublesome lesbian thoughts and pursue Paul or any other guy who happens to turn her newly coiffured head. Or maybe it could also be interpreted that Renee Margaret Marielle Catherine was the only person who knew Alex's secret. Now she's behind bars, Alex or Jessica is safe to operate under as many levels of deception as she feels she needs. Not out, but out of the office at least. Or maybe this is just the ending which needed to be included in this Hollywood script in 1987. Is this the price you had to pay to sneak transgressive themes and ideas into a mainstream movie?
Well, they don't seem to think your only motive was jealousy. Not of Paul, anyway. They seem to think your obsession was with me.
Black Widow was written by Ron Bass, by all accounts an average straight white male lawyer turned scriptwriter with a couple of wives and a couple of kids. Exactly how queued up he was on sexual identity, orientation and the theories of queer cinema in the mid to late 80s, I don't know. But he was no mug as he did go on to win an Oscar for Rain Man. Plus he co-wrote a lot of films with women, including on a large number of female-centric movies. So I'm open to believing that a lot of this subtext isn't just forceful thinking on behalf of certain viewers.
Are you buying this? I can't believe you really went for it.
God damn it.
Don't you know? No one knows why anyone does anything.
All I know is that she's obsessed with killing and you're obsessed with her. What worries me is that you might be as wacky as she is.
Regardless of how much thought about that you want to bring to Black Widow, it's worth a watch. It's certainly an interesting companion to similar female-fronted thrillers of the time. As with everything I review, the DVD will stay on my shelf, but unlike Going Overboard, this is one I'll definitely stick in the player again. Thanks for watching, gaze longingly at like and subscribe, and join me next week when I'll be looking at another Debra Winger thriller.
You're looking a little peaky, dear. Can I buy you a tan?